Hello friends, we already had a session on the components of PLC, a common PLC, and in that session I had told you that we shall be discussing input output modules, the different kind, both digital and analog, which are used in PLC separately because it requires a detailed discussion on understanding the concept of why do we need to have these input output modules. So this input output interface section of PLC, it connects the PLC to the external field devices. So this is the primary role of IO module. The main purpose of this IO module is to condition the various signals received from or sent to the external input output devices. When I say conditioning, conditioning can mean increasing or decreasing the voltage level. Conditioning can mean converting current into voltage or voltage into current signal. Conditioning can mean converting AC to DC or DC to AC, that kind of stuff. And conditioning also means that we want only the signal to be transmitted from and to the external devices to the main processor safely with proper isolations. So that is in addition to the conditioning, but you can also take it as one of the primary roles of input output modules, as we shall be seeing in the subsequent slides. So friends, this conversion is, as I told you, to convert the various logical levels both for discrete as well as for the analog devices. This output module similarly converts the level the way we do it for the input kind of devices. So the role is just reversed in the sense that in case of input, it's converting from AC to DC at TTL level. In case of output, it's converting TTL level DC to AC level. So that's what how the things can go around, we shall be seeing shortly. We start with the DC input module, and in the DC input module, let us say we first of all have a current limiting resistance. Whatsoever is the input coming from the device, this current limiting resistance is used to drop the voltage to logical level. Logical level means not more than 5 volt in any case. So this goes to opto-isolator, as I told you, and this opto-isolator is needed to prevent any kind of voltage transient from damaging the process. So at the most, this opto-isolator itself will get damaged. It will, like a fuse, it will just burn itself at the most, but it will not allow a high voltage spike to move from the input device to the processor. So it also helps in reducing the effect of electrical noise, and we will discuss the working structure of opto-isolators in the subsequent sessions as such in this very session in subsequent slides. And we see how opto-isolator is absolutely essential in both input as well as output module. And finally, we have buffer, we have filter, we have circuits which go to the processor after due condition. Now, we may have number of types of input modules. We start with the AC input module, which again takes the device signal in the form of AC. It rectifies, it has a resistance network, it converts AC to DC, and it also drops it to the appropriate voltage to the logical level, which can easily be accepted by the processor. Again, we have isolators, and again we have buffers, filters, like in the previous case, which ultimately goes to the processor. Now this is, friends, I will tell you what opto-isolator is. In opto-isolator, you have an input which is nothing but a light emitting diode. And then we have a phototransistor, which receives this light signal. It's an optical signal. It means that if at all there is a very high voltage between 1 and 2, at the most what will happen, this high voltage is going to burn this LED. It will not get transferred to this point. So 1 and 2 are galvanically isolated from pin number 7 and 8. So they are not at all connected in any form. There is no common ground also between the input and output. So spike has no chance to move from this section to this output section. So what is done? Normally we also sometimes convert voltage to frequency. So that frequency of LED turning on off depends upon the voltage. Similarly, the voltage which is received over here is also in the form of pulses, so we get in the form of frequency. And then we have frequency to voltage converter. So in case it's digital, it's only on and only off, then there is no need to have any such kind of things. But even for the analog signals, we again first convert the analog signal into digital signal, and that digital signal frequency is determined in the manner that that frequency is proportional to voltage. This frequency, pulses of the frequency which we are receiving over here, that frequency is again converted into appropriate voltage. It means that the analog signal fed over here is given to voltage to frequency converter, and here the frequency to voltage converter is used to reconstruct the analog signal, but there is no galvanic connection between input and output. So this is how kind of DIP, which is called dual in package inline package IC works. It has 8 pins. You can see it has one isolator here and one opto isolator placed over here. So you can have two opto isolators in one chip, and this thing can be easily implemented in any of your projects, maybe your capstone project or any project which you might be doing subsequently. Now friends, you have what to do in that. You have, this is the input, which is going to the PLC, and the PLC has an inbuilt opto isolator with this circuit over here, and ultimately the signal goes to the CPU like this. This is the basic DC input circuit, and this DC input circuit is also in the form of on or off. We don't have any analog thing over here, otherwise it will require voltage to frequency and frequency to voltage kind of conversions as well. So I hope you have understood the functioning of opto isolator and how it looks like if you use in the form of an IC. So in case it happens to burn itself, all you have to do is to replace the IC, but rest of the things, they will continue to work perfectly well. This is another circuit diagram for different types of inputs coming from AC. So in case your on off signal is coming in the form of AC, so once this AC is rectified, and this rectified AC is fed to the opto isolator, and ultimately the opto isolator is giving the signal which goes to the processor. This is for input number 1, input number 2, input number 3, and so on and so forth. You can have 3 rectifiers, you can have 3 opto isolators, and this is the way it receives to the 3 different bits of the processor of PLC. This is how the connections are made. You can see there's a switch over here. It can be a normal switch, limit switch, or push button. It goes directly in case we are providing with the voltage which is acceptable. In case that voltage is not there, we have potential free contact. We call it potential free contact, that is available. In that case, we have to supply appropriate voltage, let us say 5 volt, and the common is given to the ground over here, and the voltage is supplied externally. And in case we are making use of open collector output, this is called open collector output because here you have a switch. This switch is just a transistor which turns on or off its collector. This is the collector, it is open, so this is its emitter is grounded, and the output is available in the collector. And this collector requires, number one, a pull-up resistance. You all must have studied pull-up resistances. And in case open collector output is there, you use DC supply, Along with it, you use a pull-up resistance. In case only potential free contacts are available, in that case, this potential, it's a potential free thing, so you have to apply a source of potential also. And in case the voltage itself is available in form of 5 volt, then a simple switch will also do. And in this case, if case we have AC, in that case we will use the circuit which has a built-in, it has a built-in rectifier and opto-isolators as shown in the previous slide. So that is how we have input connections, and in the similar way we have output connections also. So this is DC-AC output module. You have the output coming from processor. It goes to the TTL circuits, it goes to the opto-isolators. And why do we need opto-isolators at the output? Because the voltage spike can come from the output also. It can come back to the outputs. That's why you need to have opto-isolators at output as well. And finally, it goes to the amplifier or relay or triac or transistor or whatsoever is the output device. That device will get triggered. It will get the input from the opto isolator. So this is how we have output module which can be driven by either AC or DC. So this goes to the output device which is triggered by this. This is how it looks like both for DC and AC. We have chosen 120 volt AC for example. So there is nothing much to be seen over here. This is just a pin diagram as we can see. We have different types of input output circuits, and the first one is pilot duty output. This pilot duty output is specifically designed for the circuits having inductance, like you have a solenoid valve or you have some kind of motor starters and so on and so forth. So it has some electromagnetic load, and the reason we have this pilot duty outputs is primarily on account of the fact that whenever there is electromagnetic load, it has a very high inrush, you can say inrush current, startup current is very high, and these loads, they have these are primarily inductive in nature, and that's why they have large inrush current. So this inrush current can be even 10 times the rated load. So this pilot duty outputs should be able to withstand this inrush current for small period of time without any failure. We have general purpose outputs which require some noise suppression. We have discrete inputs which again can be connected to normal limit switches or push buttons or other discrete sensors. Again, we have noise suppression in this case. So what we see is that we have analog inputs and outputs, and we have circuits which sense or drive the analog signals. The analog signals can come from thermocouples, or they can come from strain gauges, or it may be coming from any other sensors like pressure sensors and so on and so forth. Again, they can be in the form of voltage or they can be in the form of current. In case they are in the form of current or voltage, the standard notation which is used is 4 to 20 milliampere for current and normally 0 to 10 volt for the voltage signals. Similarly, for the analog output, which can be connected to kind of servo motors or to the recorders or voltmeters or walls, and they can be also controlled through use of certain transducers. Again, the standard outputs are same as in case voltage can be 0 to 10 volt, voltage can be 0 to 5 volt also, depending upon the kind of output device which we are using. We may have special purpose IOs, and these special purpose IOs can be again designed to take care of certain outputs, like for example stepping motors. You can have certain inputs like you have high speed pulse countings, you can have resolvers and decoder inputs, you can have multiplex displays at keyboards and so on and so forth. So depending upon the type, these kind of IOs are available, they're commercially available by the manufacturer, by the same person, by the same company or organization or manufacturer which is making the PLC processors. So this module actually allows for the limited access to timers and counters. We will be discussing later what is timer, what is counter. They can be directly connected to it without making any program loader. So this part about timers and counters we shall be discussing later. So as you can see, it's very simple. You have a PLC and you can have inputs in the form of push button. You can have output in the form of contactor, and that contactor is further driving motor, or it can be directly connected to lamp. So this is a very self-explanatory kind of figure which you can see and have an idea how PLC is used to connect itself to the various field inputs or field devices. This is how kind of Allen Bradley PLCs which I have used very extensively. It has input output modules. Here the input module is just exposed a little to give you an inside view. You can have a push button. PB stands for push button. It goes to one of the input module, and similarly this module, as you can see over here, it can be represented because it is connected to this point. It has this point is at number 2 position over here, so it is designated as I2. I means input and 2 means the slot in the rack is 2, and 0 is the module terminal. So this slot, you have various slots. You can have slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, and in each slot you may have, let us say, 8 input terminals. So in case it's used in the slot 2, this will become 2. Here we are making use of terminal number 0, so it will become module number 0. If this is pushed in slot number 4 and this is also pushed in the last point over here, then in that case this will become 4 and this will become 7 because it's from 0 to 7. So that's how its address is determined. In this particular case, its address will be determined as by I colon 2.0 slash 0. So 2.0 is a slot number, and dash slash 0, it means the module terminal number. So this is how the address will go in the PLC program, what we call it as the ladder program. So this is how we make use of, and you can very well see that it looks like a capacitor, but it is not capacitor, it is input, and this input is also what we call it as normally open. When it's energized, only then it closes, otherwise it's normally open. Only on pushing it or energizing it, it becomes logically true, otherwise it remains logically false, or you can say it remains open. So that is how the input, I will repeat this thing again and again so that you get used to this kind of terminology. What is logical on or false or true or on or off, all these things will be discussed in a while from now. Exactly in the same manner as we had input, we have output. Again, we just represent it by these two kind of parenthesis, or you call it as brackets. So it's not bracket open and bracket close, it's actually the output. So the input looks like something like capacitor, but it's actually input, and the output looks like a pair of parentheses, which is actually output. Again, we have in the same manner output. This is the slot and this is the terminal number. So this is kept in module number 4, placed at fourth slot, and the terminal number is 0. So this becomes the output, and this entire thing becomes one rung of the ladder. This is one rung of the ladder, and in this one rung you have to have some inputs, or you may not even have input. You can, but you have to have at least, you have to have one output. Without output, this output can be output like this can be a timer output, it can be a counter output. The rung is incomplete without output. This output will get energized when this condition is true. So how this condition will be true, we will discuss later when we discuss the programming part. But right now you have to get yourself acquainted with, or you please get yourself familiarized with how the input symbol looks like, how the output symbol looks like, and this is going to drive a contactor. Contactor is a kind of relay, but it's bigger in size, it's bigger in current capacity. So a bigger relay is called contactor, and this contactor is used to run heavy things like you have valves, or you can have motors and so on and so forth. So all these things are normally connected through these kind of contactors. So friends, I think you have now a fairly good idea of how input and output things they are represented in the diagram, which is called ladder diagram, and it's just one rung. And if you have one rung and below it you have another rung and third rung and fourth rung, so these rungs can actually run into hundreds, through 300, 400, 500. That's the kind of programming which I have done. So all these they look like a ladder with number of rungs. That's why this is called a ladder program. We have discrete inputs. They are sometimes referred to as digital inputs. They can be just on or off. In on condition, we say it is logic 1, as we studied in gates, and in off condition you can say it's logic 0, or you can call it as logic low or logic 0. You can see this looks like O, but it's 0, or logic low. So this is how we have different notations for the push button. You can see this one over here is normally open push button, means normally the output of this is 0. Only when you press it, it becomes 1. This is called normally closed, or NC. Normally closed. This normally open is called NO. Normally closed is called NC. So this is NC push button. So normally it is closed. Normally the input going is 1, but when you press it, it becomes off. This is again NO switch, and this is again NC switch. So when you press it, it goes down and it opens, otherwise it's normally closed. So once you have a contact, this contact, if it is normally open, it's represented by this. If it's normally closed, it's represented by this. So I will be discussing about all these kind of things. Primarily these two are the symbols which are used in the ladder programming. We have just seen that this capacitor like thing is used to represent the input bit as such. So we shall be discussing more of this in the programming part, but right now you have to keep these things in your active memory so that you can understand the subsequent sections in an easy manner. What do we see over here? We see that this is the case. It is normally open and this is off. So the logic is 0. When someone presses it, it closes and it provides the kind of voltage which is required to the PLC. Then in this case, it becomes on and the logic becomes 1. This logic becomes 1, and that's why we say that it is now turned on. Now you can see again we have analog input coming in the standard format, and we will show you a kind of liquid level in the tank, and depending upon the level, as the level increases, the signal increases, and this signal is given to the analog input module. So this is the level transmitter. So the level goes down, the signal goes down, level goes up, the signal goes up, and this analog signal is transmitted to this PLC analog input module. Similarly, we have digital output modules, and we can have digital output modules, we can have analog output modules, and in case of digital output modules, as we had done in case earlier also, they are connected to the discrete outputs or the digital outputs like lamp. So these lamps are going to turn on or off. Have analog output which is continuously changing itself from 0 to 20 milliampere or standard 4 to 20 milliampere, and this is how this output which is coming continuously from the analog output, this voltage is converted by E to P converter. Sometimes people call it, in case it's current, then it is called I to P converter. In case this output voltage is in the form of voltage, the output, then in that case it's called E to P converter, and this P is again converting itself to standard 3 to 15 psi, and that is used to open or close a pneumatic control valve, which might be again controlling some flow, maybe flow of oil, flow of coolant, or flow of some other fluid. That is how PLCs can be used to control the process in its analog form, and that is why we say it is no longer programmable logic controller. We eliminated the word when we use the full form of PLC. We don't say it's programmable logic controller, we say it is programmable controller. Friends, we take a break over here about the IO modules. If you have any queries regarding these IO modules or in general regarding the PLCs, you can share with me, you can ask, you can clarify your doubts through WhatsApp, through personal phone calls even, or through Zoom sessions, or through mail, or any other means. And in the, I suppose that in these especially in this lockdown conditions, this is very effective way to communicate, and hope you have enjoyed this session as well. I thank you for being with me. I wish you a very safe stay. Bye bye.